the most successful entrepreneurs aren't chasing the next shiny innovation, but instead they're building what we call boring businesses in the world's most exciting markets. While all of us on LinkedIn are fighting for attention with flashy AI wrappers and no code tools and viral posts, the real money is actually being made by those who perfect these unsexy fundamentals. I'm Rachit, and as you know, this is ChaiNet, and today we're diving deep into this fascinating concept with Saurabh Gupta, who has spent over 20 years perfecting data and AI systems at companies like Oracle, GE, Michelin, before co founding FroGo. It's a supply chain technology company that's quietly revolutionizing India's frozen food market. He's also the author of 5 books on technology, business strategy, and he's also an active angel investor. Today, we'll explore why this boring business in a sexy market approach might be the smartest entrepreneurial strategy that you've ever heard of. So, Saurabh, let's directly, dive into the questions. We've seen that you have a very fascinating career arc. From building database systems at Oracle to AI platforms at Michelin, and now, of course, FroGo. Most people see something as cold storage versus AI as completely different worlds. So take us back to your time at either Oracle or Michelin, while you were working in let's say manufacturing. What was it like, and when did you first realize that you might want to apply this technology or AI technology into something as fundamental as food delivery?
First of all, thanks, Rachit. It's great to be here. And, beautifully put. Thanks for glorifying my 20 years of career. Okay. So, yeah, and you said it right. This cold chain and AI, these are like poles apart, very different planets altogether. And when I was at Michelin, I was fortunate enough to lead the AI initiatives. And back then, I think when I was building the AI systems for manufacturing, especially for the supply chain, manufacturing, tie defects, our use case used to be voice of customers, demand forecasting, process optimization, and that's when I started setting up a team for research and development to research on GANs, the application of GANs, the generative adversarial
Right,
networks, into to detect the defects in the tires and how can that be done at scale. So and that's when most of these AI initiatives are probably not limited because of the tech, but because of a lot of cultural inertia and a lot of other factors, right?
right,
So and me coming from the product mindset, I always believe that whatever business I'll build on my own and my next, it's going to be the something that reflects human behavior day in day out,
wow,
right? So and product, as you say, it encapsulate a lot of technologies, and AI is one element of it. Okay.
right,
So because that's where it started, and I was literally hunting for some of the use cases. That's when FroGo happened, came to me. I accepted, felt quite natural fit, because cold chain is something probably we might have heard about. WMS solution, warehousing logistics
right,
solutions, you have shadow faxes of the words, you have delivery of the word, but something which is very specific to cold chain logistics, which treats the cold chain temperature breach as it has to
right,
be, is something which I found that it's worth a challenge to be accepted. And that's when Frogo started. And now I find that although AI may not be solving all the use cases of cold chain, but I find that there are crossroads where AI plays a very, very relevant role in the cold chain logistics, optimizing it. Although the infrastructure may not be 100%, but at least we know what's happening on the ground with the AI engineering and products on the
right,
ground.
right. So, using AI for something else other than content creation and and making AI slop. So that's there are very few people doing that, honestly. But we'll come back to that for sure, and I will dive a bit more deeper into how you're using AI. But before that, the moment I landed on your LinkedIn profile a month back, I saw that you've actually written 5 books, and they span from Oracle databases to psychology, and that's honestly a very unusual combination. But I'm sure there is some you figured out some connection. But what do you think? Like, how do you how does something like human psychology help you with building this heavy operational business? And what have you learned about irrational decisions which people might be making, which actually creates opportunities for such boring businesses?
So, see, authorship is something that came naturally and coming from the place where literature plays a very big role in our
Right,
upbringing. I come from Lucknow, so content literature was something that ran in parallel wherever we went. So, and I think the time I started writing, there were not many technology authors coming from India. So, and I never realized it. I sort of grabbed the opportunity in sleeps that I have to, write something on technology, and Oracle was something best I knew
right,
that time. So Oracle started, and then over the time, there was a small fraction of my career where I spent time in psychology and practicing technology every day. So it was sort of collective, and I sort of collected all my learning and sort of publishing my book. So that's where the psychology thing happened. Now, when I realize, when today, if I read my book myself now, I find that certain bits and pieces, traces of the applications of psychology happening every single day. Because when you start building products, we have to deal, or we have to understand hundreds of users and their way, their mindset, their way of interacting with the product, their way of assessing and engaging with your small
right,
features which you'll be releasing in the product. So I felt that more than introspecting and understanding yourself, you have to understand, you have to be in the shoes of your
right,
users. And that's why I think the whys of why will certain person will take a certain action, which will give a certain output, which will be interpreted by different people on the floor, that helps me building the product all the time. And the, the boring businesses
right.
as such, with multiple people, which are not at all boring. Okay, they're absolutely
Yeah,
fascinating on
I'm
the
sure.
ground, but you have to make sure that all of those boring or fascinating habits get clubbed in your product. Okay, so, and that has to be simple,
Right,
right? That you and me have to use, that people on the ground have to use. So I feel that the traces of that psychology are getting in practice, getting in action every single day whenever we build the product. Maybe people on the ground may not understand what AI features they are
right.
seeing it. Like if you go and click a photo from your iPhone, there are a lot of AI models, there are a lot of embedded AI that
Yes.
comes into picture. So they might not be appreciate the term as AI, but we know that what AI plays the role in making their lives simple.
Amazing, amazing. That's actually very it's very amazing to even think that that there are people on the ground actually working in the heat, going out, figuring things out, and then there is this small AI feature which they don't even know about. They're doing something as simple as clicking a photograph, and there's so much going on behind the scenes which gives them one tip or one something next to do, what to do next about it. And that's actually impacting so much. It must be saving so much time, it must be impacting so much on cost. That's actual real implementation of AI. And yeah, that's amazing. And especially from like while building databases, what we usually think is like, I have my own technical experience. So what I've seen is that there are two kinds of developers. One are who work on the front end and on the UX, and they try to think more in the customer shoes, and they're the ones who are almost at the at the UX plus front end level. And then there are back end engineers who would like to sit with their hoods in dark rooms and just code and just write their build their databases, write their scripts. But you've actually done even gone beyond that, and while building a database, something as as fundamental as a database, you've gone to human psychology and now building something as fundamental as food delivery. So that's like an amazing journey, that's for sure. um but tell me now, I'm very interested in in the again I'll keep coming back to the heavy operational business which you're building, because till now most of the entrepreneurs I have interacted with, and even what we are building, these are these are all what I would like to call flashy consumer apps, right? So
Mhm.
but what patterns do you see? How do you actually evaluate an opportunity while, let's say, you're angel investing? What pattern do you see when it comes to operational business versus a flashy consumer app?
See, I think the flashy consumer app, anyone can buy any given time, but not for long. So unless until you retain the customers and you find the way how to create the customer stickiness to that flashy consumer
Right.
app, and that's a different world altogether. I mean, I'm sure if I ask you about the Web3, I'm sure most of us we do not know what is Web2
Right.
already, right? So Web2 versus Web3, how are they different? It's all happening
Yes.
as we speak. So it's not something that is in the books or that is in the theory. It's happening as we speak. The same thing happens the same way. I will differentiate the flashy consumer apps versus the operations heavy business. Now operations heavy businesses are built for endurance. Okay, they are not flashy. Like if you see my ERP, that's one of the most pathetic ERPs. No colors, nothing, but it works. It works. It solves a purpose. It solves the problems beautifully. And uh, uh, and, and the way I would interpret any model, any venture, or even any feature that I need to put in the product, first of all, you need to size the problem. You need to size and frame the problem. If the like is it worthy enough to be a problem or not? At first place, there could be 100 problems around us. Not every problem needs to be solved with AI or with engineering or with the
True.
product. So it has to be sizable enough. It has to be defined enough. Like if you and me can define the problem in a similar way, that means we have already felt the pain of that particular
Right.
problem. Second is, what is the current solution to the problem? Is it just lying or no one is looking at it? Is it a manual operation, or is this like series of steps that someone has to take in order to go through or say, sail through that particular
Right.
problem? That is the second thing. Third, that if we solve the problem, that then what is the quantum of scale that it will achieve over time, right? So if we solve the food delivery problem, will who will be the primary beneficiaries? Will it be only restaurants? Will it be only customers? Can this be scaled? Will all be people interested in
Right.
it? Like in our case, when we act as the fulfillment partners for the brands which are listed on quick commerce or which have multiple distribution
Right.
points, we make sure that they already realize that this is a problem. It's not something that opens, that works out of the scene, right?
True.
If they do not have the fulfillment done on time, what are they losing, right? What is the size of it? So these are the three parameters primarily which I assess: size of the problem, the definition of the problem, second, what is the current, what is at stake, and what is the current solution which the users are operating when to go pass through it, and the third one is the scalability of the solution that will come into picture. Is it solving the point in time problem, or is it enough to solve problems at
Hmm.
scale? And we can probably have the opportunity of seeing a wider benefit with those solutions.
Right, right. No, that makes a lot of sense, and these three pillars are very important, I think, for our listeners. And I think there's a follow-up question where I think they're listening to the three pillars, and then our listeners are thinking that let's just directly ask that what is the opportunity. So there's a question which is, what is the opportunity today if you want to build an operational business as a startup?
Well, see, so first of all,
Right,
find an operational problem. Okay, and operational problems are lying in open. Okay, it may be logistics, it may be warehousing, or uh, it may be in pick up an industry. All the industries, there are no industries except SaaS which are not operational heavy. Everything is very, very operations heavy. And when I say operations, that doesn't only mean that you build a team of say 1,000 folks running on the ground left, right, and center. That's not operations heavy.
right.
There are multiple systems trying to talk to each other, and you have to set the coordination within each one of them and set up the process chain. That's the true nature of operations
Hmm.
heavy business. Like, we work on the ground. There are multiple teams, multiple handshakes that happen, and maybe it's only one person doing it, but making sure that the information passes in the correct format and at the right time. The manifestation, or say, the manifestation is the wrong word, but orchestration of that information happens in the real time. That's the operations heavy, and that's where most of the businesses I wouldn't say struggle, but they find their own
Right.
ways of doing, and that's how they
Makes
succeed.
sense.
So simple answer to this question: pick up an industry. There are lots of operations heavy segments within the
Mm-hmm.
industries. See what's happening right now, and do you have the opportunity of optimizing a portion of it?
Got
Okay, something that we optimized, can that be completed with the right set of success criteria in the limited set of time?
Right. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about cold chain logistics in general, right? It's a very, um, uh, I would say, it's a very unknown sort of a field, at least to us in in the startup and entrepreneurship game. But what is some misconception which people have about cold chain logistics, which which we feel might be everyone thinks that this is the thing, but it's not.
Sure. So most of the misconceptions I think we have as a user on the user side of it is frozen food safe or not? I think that's the most common myth which I
Hmm.
continue to hear. Although there are the trends are changing as the awareness, brand awareness. Brands are also running certain campaigns to educate the users. But still, that myth continues to live, continues to stay. However, on the other side of the world, where people like us who are into operations, the myth is that if you have a reefer van or if you have a cold vehicle, the task is done. But that's not true because,
Hmm.
for example, having a laptop doesn't makes you a software company, right? So, uh,
Right.
same thing. If you have a
Right.
refrigerated vehicle, doesn't make you a cold chain logistics provider.
Right.
So, and that's where we call that specially as the fulfillment. That once you have the cold chain vehicle, once you have the stock in hand, then you have to make sure that all sorts of disciplines. Sorry, there is some power outage at my end. Okay, this works. So it has to work. It had this discipline, the temperature breach, or say the temperature adherence that has to stay as it is, and that's when the entire arc is completed. That's what is called fulfillment. I think that's the biggest myth that we go through every single day. That having the cold chain vehicle is the end of the story, but that is not. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of handshakes that go on the ground in order to make sure that we fulfill the demand, fulfill the request on time.
Hmm. Right, right. So a vehicle is akin to a laptop, and that's a very interesting analogy, and that's true. I think before this, I also had a very similar misconception that but yeah, that's probably just one part of the puzzle, right? You need to solve
Yeah.
for the whole puzzle. Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about AI. That's the this is one question which I almost ask everyone who's been to this podcast because that's something which I am concerned with, honestly. That there's this tension emerging. Everyone's talking about AI replacing human jobs. uh,
Mhm.
you stand from a point that you worked with large enterprises, and and now you're working with like you have your own startup. um, what do you think, like how should entrepreneurs actually think about AI? Is it a replacement for humans, or is it a complement, and why?
Great question, first of all. I think uh, I keep on seeing this over the blogs and social media platforms. AI
Right.
is replacing humans, replacing jobs, but I think this is a big distraction. AI is not replacing humans or jobs. AI is replacing task. Okay,
Hmm.
AI is replacing task in a very simple sense. Now, if you see large enterprises, there you have already set the engine is already set up and running. It may be dependent on systems. It may be built using people. It may be dependent on certain teams, and all of these teams cannot go in a shot if I replace all of these human teams with AI systems. The reason is that in large enterprises, what matters the most is the safety and security of the data. And they can never go 100% dependent on AI systems, which are which are helping them to take some decisions at scale in certain situations, right?
Right.
So AI will replace certain tasks of the entire process chain, which in fact will in turn which will make the humans more intelligent. So it will complement the
Mm.
intelligence of these teams, which will have more time and effort to focus on some more intelligence or say some more smarter jobs. So it will make the humans smarter rather than replacing them. Now if I draw the same example in startups for us, now for us we have, even though we build AI systems, we always have a chance of correcting it, right?
Right.
So what is at scale is way smaller compared to the large enterprises. So for example, if my rider is on the roads, okay, my Google Map or any other map service which I use is suggesting some different route, right? But this person knows he's on the road, he knows a better
Right.
route.
Right.
I have the opportunity to learn from this particular system, which is actually who's actually on the ground, and make my AI more smarter,
Right.
right?
True.
So I think that is the way I will draw the difference between AI personal or sorry AI provisioning in large enterprises versus at startups. There the things are pretty much at scale. When I was at GE, I remember we used to set up AI systems for locomotives in North America, and no matter how much we sell, AI systems used to be, used to spit out the output, and those coefficients used to be used before the locomotives will start.
Right. Right.
Once the locomotives is under operation,
Hmm.
you cannot run an AI system.
Cannot run any. Got it. Then it's all human intelligence and human
And
intervention and right.
whatever indicators you have to produce, better produce before the locomotive starts. Once the
Right.
engine starts up, you cannot do
Hmm.
it, right?
Makes
While
sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
make right. And if I build the demand forecasting, I'm building demand forecasting for several brands at FroGo. So that, and even if there is like 80%, 90% correct, it's fine, right? Because that
Right.
is good enough to give me an indicator that how my store has to be organized, how the
True.
freezer space has to be utilized, and that's where we
Right.
use AI models to find out that what variants of the products, depending on their sales outflow, depending on their production capacity, how my store has to be best utilized for space.
Makes a lot of sense. Right. Yeah. And that is like a crazy opportunity now when I think of it, right? Like everything can actually end up saving cost, saving manpower, saving labor, and yeah, like that's some real world implementation which we've all been looking for to be honest. But let's, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, and I'm sure we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are listening. um, there's this thing where we, as you said, that AI replaces tasks, right? So there's and not humans. So there's this thing that um, it's sometimes very hard, and especially in an operational business, right? It's sometimes very hard to even think or even come to a conclusion that what where do we need process optimization versus where do we actually need AI. So how do you differentiate that? And if someone who's there who wants to build an operational system, then how do they actually even get to the problem?
Well, so I'll break this question in two parts. One is when to
Hmm.
decide to build an AI system and for process optimization, and when to optimize process itself
Itself, right?
so that there's no need of anything else. Second is about, I'm sorry, I missed the second part of the question, but I remember there was a
I
second
think,
part.
yeah, this is the main question, that
This,
how do you differentiate that, whether do you want to should we optimize the process versus should you use AI for process, just for the process.
it's a very common debate, believe me, Rachit.
Right.
Because if I come from the product perspective and
Hmm.
I need to think about that, how many, in agile terms, how many sprints are open, how many features are yet
Right.
to be delivered, I will always fight to optimize the process first.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, that's not the question which I have running, or say running a startup. I don't have that question
Right.
because on the ground process is always built considering the levers which are available then and there.
Right.
They don't think about, or say the process makers will think about that what is the best way to do it, not considering the product, or say not considering the anything the outcomes coming from the product. They will believe that product is available to capture the data, to capture some system of records, to do some clicks, submit, upload the form, upload the image. That's it. Now, when I look at the productivity of the process, or say
Hmm.
productivity of the people on the ground, I will ask this question: that what are these series of steps you are doing right now? I will figure out that now this is the opportunity for me to optimize their and enhance their productivity by optimizing this process. Most of the time, believe me, and this has been common across the board, across the globe as well, that none of the process optimization request will come from the process makers.
Hmm.
Okay,
It'll come from the users, from the people who are in the process.
it will either come from them, and the first shout will come that they have a problem in the system.
Right.
And that's where the third eye view will give you the correct identification of that what portion of the process needs to be optimized. Then
Hmm.
fourth eye view will identify the opportunity of AI, that what if we do this, what if
Hmm.
we put up a system which learns based on your, see, every time if I need to record the temperature and take and ask for approval, just a rough example, maybe I just put up a system, you say that this is the time I'm receiving the stock, or this is the temperature, should I receive yes or no? Simple prediction of yes or no. Now, for me to answer this question, or say for my operations head to answer this question, they will ask 4 5 questions, right? What is the
Right.
volume? What is the time receiving? What is the waiting time? And then what is the temperature? And most of the time, our answer is, very similar. So this is an opportunity that if this person can feed in these inputs, and the system can tell whether they have to receive the stock or not, this is how the process gets optimized,
Right.
right?
Right.
So as I said, the process makers won't ask for the optimization or
Hmm.
intervention most of the time. It is the third eye view who is probably auditing the process or measuring the productivity of the process. They will
Right.
identify the use case, and that's how we build.
Amazing. Yeah, that's knowledge which comes from only from experience, that cannot be learned. They can theoretically, it cannot be learned theoretically. You'll, or like, and especially if you're not in the field, you've not done that, this you cannot you'll always assume that the process, like I said, I tried to complete your sentence, but I think I was wrong, and you were kind that you said that okay, it'll come from the users. But yeah, but I think I was very wrong. It should, it should come, it usually comes from the third eye or the fourth eye view, and AI comes much 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 later. that's
Much.
what uh, that's what I've understood. But looking where AI is now heading, and especially with physical businesses, with operational businesses, IoT, all the automation which is coming. If we look at like a 5-year view, what is one thing which you're very excited about?
I'm very excited about the the advancements which ethical and responsible AI is making in the space.
Hmm.
There are a lot of changes that have happened in the last couple of years. Forget about 10 years. 10 years was just AI slash ML.
Right.
The true sense of artificial intelligence has probably born in the last 2 years. With OpenAI, GenAI, DeepSeek coming in, I think there is another angle which got associated with AI unknowingly,
Right.
unfortunately, but that is going to decide the adoption of AI in the coming time. Now, coming from, or say, specifically focusing on the tech lens of AI, I'm very keen about exploring the responsible AI aspects, which in turn has, molded AI systems. Because
Right.
right now, if you see the AI image generation, a lot of platforms, they have started putting the watermark, or say somewhere in the corner, that this is an AI image. If you
Right.
if I go and upload my books on Amazon Kindle, they have started asking for a declaration whether it's an AI
Hmm.
generated content or not. I think that is something that is going to evolve, and that is going to go much more wider when it comes to AI adoption. Okay. Industrial AI will evolve. Right now, the adoption stands somewhere between 18 to 20% globally. And I
Hmm.
think the trust and the way there are a lot of, what to say, in parallel, there are a lot of things going on with AI. And once we start seeing the solution built using AI, and the product building with AI, I think that adoption will go on a higher side as well. It will, and optimally, it will stand somewhere around 35 to 40%. That's my anticipation in the next 5 years, considering the things that and I'm not counting the AI products like image generation or Ghibli image or those type of. These are uh, good for democratization of AI, so that more and more people could start getting generating interest with AI products, and that opens up the opportunity for some more consumer fancy products to sell AI. But I think that's my anticipation for the next 5 years.
That's very interesting because I can see, like AI can be misused very, very, very badly. So I understand your excitement for responsible AI. That's a very interesting term that I'm going to use now for a lot of. Actually, that brings me to my last question. That you've as you said, responsible AI is something which you're excited about. If we talk about irresponsible AI, or the misuse of AI, what is one thing which actually concerns you? Because I from our from your answers, I understand that you know things deep and wide, right? Which is very rare. So I would want to know and get into your head that what is one thing which you are afraid of. Like, for example, I feel my concern is something very, very rudimentary, that humans might be losing a lot of jobs. So in your case, what is your biggest concern?
I think my biggest concern is around AI floating for free. Okay.
Hmm.
And unnecessarily, we never realize that we are the part of the product which we are actually consuming.
Hmm.
We
Right.
share a lot of thoughts, we share a lot of content in terms of images. And because see, the ethical or say responsible AI which I mentioned, that layer has not yet hit. It is
Yes.
yet to come, and
True.
most of the time it will reflect in the outcomes, not in the inputs. So the products which are say available for free, collecting all the data without knowing that where it will lead to, I think that's a
That is
serious
scary.
threat to the AI adoption.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons is the open democratization of AI consumption. Uh, so I hope that there should be certain norms. Uh, the check which we see, the tick which we put in the long agreement becomes much more widely visible, so that we understand that what are we getting into when we upload an image or a document, or we ask ChatGPT to do something. I think that is yet to be regulated, and I can just be hopeful that it happens more sooner or later in the coming times.
Right. No, that's a very very valid and very concerning point, that regulation needs to catch up with technology, and that's what I think. That is our, like, from coming from the Web3 background, that's our number one concern since 5 years now. That we need regulation, and we need regulation fast. I hope, as you said, I hope that that happens faster in the AI space than it has for in the Web3 space. But yeah, Saurabh, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation, and guys, to all of you, I think Saurabh has given us, a masterclass in strategic thinking. And if you're, let's say, evaluating business opportunities, then there's a very important thing, very important learning from Saurabh, that asking, instead of asking something like what innovative product can I build, you should ask that, what problem or what operational problem can I solve, uh, where you're either saving time or either saving money, which needs, as Saurabh said, that connection between a lot of things, and that can be, that can be your silver bullet. And yeah, everyone else, you can find Saurabh's books on Amazon, and he has some amazing books. And please follow FroGo's journey. Saurabh's there, he's listed on my, he's tagged on the LinkedIn post as well. And thank you so much, Saurabh, for giving us your time, and wonderful
Thanks
day.
so
And
much,
you had
Rajat.
some really amazing thoughts.
Thanks,
Thank you.
man.
It was
Thanks,
lovely.
Rajat.
Bye bye.
Bye.